Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a new set of crazy revenge stories for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Sink my car, now pay for two. I submerged my car on a flooded road outside my apartment complex a few years back. Didn't realize it was flooded, turned onto the street doing about 30 to 35 miles per hour, and splish splash, I was taking a bath. The street was constructed in a U-shape, with there being a large bowl where the water gathered. Unfortunately, there was only a small storm drain on either side of the road. I documented the scene, took videos of that day, and then videos a day or two later when it flooded again. Witnesses at the time told me they'd lived in the area for years and it flooded every winter. I sued the county, provided them with ample evidence, the cost of repairs, the loss of value in the car, loss of wages as my only means of transportation was damaged for a few weeks, the cost of a rental car, and the cost of labor. They attempted to say that the streets were designed to withstand a 10-year flood, and as the day in question was heralded as the storm of the century for my region, they said it was an act of God. I quickly countered their claim with video evidence of the street flooding a few days later. I let them know that if it was not as substantial as the day I wrecked my car, as the water had been covering almost 1/3 of the fire hydrant you can see in the video. Children were literally swimming across the street. I won 80-some-odd% of my claim. They didn't want to go to court over the issue as they'd have to pay more lawyer fees than what they'd already paid and could very well likely end up paying a good portion of the claim anyway. Fast forward a few months, and it floods again. I see a guy in similar situation as mine. He drove into the water and effed his car up. I jot down my phone number and my previous claim number, make him a copy of the form used to file the suit against the county, and tell him the situation. I tell him to contact me to be a witness if things got that far. I let him know that I had contacted the transportation department hours ago, and they never showed up. They didn't detour the road, they didn't close it due to flooding, they didn't open up the drains. They knew of the issues hours before he wrecked his car. A few months later, wouldn't you know it, the county repaired the road and added proper drainage. And our next story. He was a public health risk, so I got him promoted to customer. Years back, I worked in back of house for a chain fast food casual restaurant. Let's call it Emerald Wednesday. I'd been there for quite some time and had seen many managers, both good and bad, come and go. They typically lasted just a couple years. We'd been gifted a general manager who was sent to our store as his last chance to salvage his career. And when he failed, we were without a general manager for a couple of months. The assistant managers ran the restaurant and things were okay, but no one was getting promoted within the company. Then the district manager went with an outside hire that was coming in from the other side of the country. This guy was a complete idiot. We'll call him Johnny. He had zero experience as a general manager and wasn't even applying for the position, but the district manager talked him into taking the job. Big mistake. Under Johnny's tutelage, our Emerald Wednesday started to slowly fail, mostly due to his mismanagement. He was belligerent to the staff, making a couple of the girls cry by belittling them in front of everyone else. He was so lazy he'd hide in the office on busy weekends while we struggled without a manager. He refused to do even the basics of his job, like the nightly pull thaw. For those who don't know, many things are kept frozen in the walk-in freezer and are pulled forward to the cooler at night so that they thaw before morning. This was rarely done on Johnny's evening shifts. We would routinely have to force thaw steaks, shrimp, and chicken under running cold water, which is not something that we're supposed to even do. I saw on a few occasions that Johnny was cross-contaminating foods under the running water, a pan of frozen shrimp on top of or even in a pan of frozen steaks. At one point, I didn't see this one, Johnny ran some frozen steaks under hot water to thaw them quickly because they needed to be cooked right then. This was a huge problem, and had I seen it, I would have wanted to punch the fool in his face. We sometimes ran checks of multiple hours and had frequent guest complaints. One guest even threw his silverware at the host. Johnny was called up front and actually took the guest side, leaving the host in tears. I believe he even comped the guy's meal. Johnny was a real class act. I made it my mission to do something about him. At the very least, he was going to get someone very ill from his shenanigans. So I sat down with the district manager who'd brought Johnny in and spoke with him at length and great detail about how bad Johnny was, how terrible the morale was, how he could get people ill, all of it. He asked me point blank what I thought of Johnny, and I told him, Johnny is an idiot. Nothing came of it. Christmas was coming, and I knew I was quitting in a couple of months. Johnny insisted on having a Christmas party at a bar a town away, but fraternizing between management and hourly employees was against company policy, so I didn't go. Johnny got quite drunk and drove himself home. I heard from coworkers that Johnny had been pulled over for DUI. Oops. A week or so later, I wrote a lengthy email detailing everything Johnny has screwed up on, wrote about the Christmas party, and included screenshots of court records I was able to look up on the town's website. I set up a burner email account and messaged everyone I could find in the Emerald Wednesday hierarchy. When I went back to work a couple days later, we had a shiny new general manager, and no one knew what I had done. I'm not proud of this, but he was making lives miserable. The restaurant was failing, and I was certain he was a public health risk. F you, Johnny. And our next story. Prepare to be ID'd or prepare to be made a fool. So I work at the student bar at my university, and I'm quite proud of my job there and take it really seriously. I'm also a senior staff member, so I routinely bounce around from being doorman to bar. As long as you are baseline respectful, you'll have my full attention and service. I understand that people have bad days or are shy or uncomfortable and don't need me to sass them for being the way they are in the moment. I mean, they're in a bar. They probably want to drink and relax, and I've been there, so I get it. But then there are the douche nozzles who come tearing up into the place like they own it and treat people with disrespect and are so thoroughly annoying. My personal favorite thing to do to these gremlins is drag them back to the front door and double or even triple ID them after they storm past me. Like, listen here, bud, just because you turned 19 the other day, legal drinking age in my province, doesn't mean you get to ignore the dude sitting 6 feet into the bar. I'd sit closer to the door, but it's a fire hazard, so I can't. Like, they try and dart past me thinking that I won't go hunting them down. Seriously, it's literally my job. My personal favorite is one time these two people were, I think, going on a date. They came in and I smiled and asked for ID, so the girl began looking through her purse when her extravagantly blinged out boo gently laid a hand on her and said, I got this. He proceeds to turn back to me and says, Yo, I'm a regular. I don't need ID, and she's with me, so we're good. Now keep in mind that this guy is the whitest boy I've ever seen. He made snow look tanned and would probably sparkle if light was shined directly on him. So while I get his tough guy gangster showmanship was stereotypical and bland, I didn't jump on him just yet. I told him that I had to ID everyone regardless of their frequency at the bar. He doesn't like this, so he laughs at me and is like, Nah, just relax, bro. We got this. You do you. I tell him that he isn't welcome in the bar until he provides me with a federally issued ID. Then the bozo decides to power play me. He locks eyes with me, squares up, and says, Mind your own business. So I stand up and thank the all-heavenly Jesus I was actually taller than this guy. I look down on him and, now being a little annoyed, simply say, ID or leave. Trying to save face, this magpie of a person decides to laugh it off again with a, Yo, I was just playing, dog. Relax, man. You gotta learn to chill and take a joke, man. And he starts fumbling for his wallet. I take the very quiet and appropriately now awkward girl's ID, and boom, she's golden. I have no problems with her. Buddy pulls out his ID, check it, scan the whole card with my eyes reading every detail I can find. I grill this card between glances of grilling him. That's not enough, however, because kinda F this guy, and I ask for a second piece. He looks surprised and grumbling, pulls out a second piece. I tell him that it's not so hard to just get your ID ready for the doorman, which clearly pissed him off more. I grill the new card, just like the last one, and make the face of, I'm on the fence. He indignantly pouts, Come on, man. And I reply, Hey, man, you just turned 19. You can never be too careful. The edges are kind of rough on this card. The silent partner finally stirs with a confused look. She says, I thought you were 20. Yikes. So anyway, not to make a long story any longer, I let them in, and occasionally I'd look over to their table and see an awful scene unfurling. Her face was one of boredom and an eagerness to be done, and his was the face of a boy drowning in his own lies and personas. So, moral of the story is have your ID ready, or you'll be embarrassed and ridiculed on the spot and might have your date ruined. And our last story. My dad was forced to come to work while sick. My dad has been working for the same company for about 30 plus years now. My dad is extremely smart. I don't say that lightly. When he was 3 years old, yes, 3 years old, he rewired my grandmother's toaster oven when it broke. He graduated high school early and has always excelled in mathematics, physics, and most tech-related areas. My dad began working for Company X after finishing his associate's degree. He was taking some time off before going back to school as he and my mom had just got married and needed money. So my dad began working in Company X's printing press room as he did not have the academic credentials to apply for the job he really wanted at the time. This company printed everything from books to magazines and newspapers and the like. According to my dad, he actually really enjoyed working in the press room. It was a lot of manual labor and he was stuck on second shift, but he really liked his coworkers and he enjoyed learning about the machines they used, as well as how to run and repair them. My dad has a great work ethic. He always works hard, as did most of his coworkers. Apparently, the management at the time was kind of crappy. My dad had been working at this job for several months when he got the flu. He was informed by a coworker that while they were unable to call out sick, it would count against them when it was time for reviews. It was clearly an unfair and ridiculous rule. So my dad came into work the next day with a fever and nausea. He carried around a trash can with him for most of the day. It was a long and brutal shift, and he was thrilled to finally leave. By the time he left, though, everyone on second shift had been exposed to the flu, as well as everyone coming in for third shift. The company ended up having to shut down the printing press for almost a whole week because nearly every press room worker was sick with the flu. While I'm not sure my dad had planned such a glorious outcome, he was very smug telling me this story and said he would do it again. My dad went back to school and finished his degree and got a job much higher in the company and now has quite a few people working beneath him. He never gives his employees a hard time about taking sick days. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.